Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you back to Socially Joe. As I mentioned in my introduction, I am inviting local business owners and entrepreneurs to talk about a little bit about themselves, either whether how they started up their business, what trials and tribulations they got to from point A to point B, and also tips and tricks to help you succeed in your business. And then finally, we're going to invite like a little nonprofit here and there, but as I said, this is not nonprofit day, but we'll get to that. So right now, I have two lovely people with me, Jesus and Erica from Janie
Hi.
Photography.
Hello.
So I'm going to turn it over to you both. If you want to just take a time, each one of you, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the business. So I'll turn it over to Erica first, and then we'll go to Jesus.
Okay. So, my name is Erica Contreras, and I got my bachelor's degree in hospitality management with a minor in business. Um, when we started the business, it was more for on my side, more about family and loyalty. Um, I definitely like to make sure that we as a family are united and on the same purpose. So that is what I personally bring to the table for the family and what I do for this. And I'll pass it to Jesus.
Thank you. Yes. And that is all very true. In fact, without her, we could have not done this. I'm just going to put it out there. She does a lot of things that gives me the freedom to really focus on doing what I do, going out and taking photos and uh, growing the company. So that is very true. As far as my background, I am from Venezuela, and I came to the United States when I was 17 years old with about $500 in my pocket and a backpack and a camera. And it was always my dream to grow here in this country, this beautiful country that's given me the opportunity to not only start and grow a family. We have two kids, David and Alexander. They are now 13 and 8 years old. And we moved to Sarasota, Florida in 2006. And I became a citizen, and we started this company. And that's a little bit of me. And I got my degree also at the State College of Florida in business and then photography.
Nice. So, just to reiterate, I know you're both very passionate about your jobs and whatnot. And actually, to tell our audience right now is I've worked with Jesus on a couple of projects, and I've also just went out with him the other day, and he just his passion, his everything on what he puts onto his projects is really, really finite, and I love it. So, with that being set in mind, let's go with the questions. Your topic is how one man started in Sarasota to become a very popular photographer and well known in this area. So, with that, let's just touch a little. I know you already give a little bit of history, but we're going to go a little bit deeper in this. So, how did you both start out in this? Like, how did you meet in the middle? How did you actually formulate, like, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking and excited at the same time, Joe. Erica, do you mind if I take this one?
No, please.
All right, good. And feel free to pitch in. But yes, it was. I think a lot of us photographers and any photographers listening to this, I think they can benefit a lot, especially if they're trying to grow into something bigger than themselves. Any artist out there as well, we tend to, especially if we have a family to take care of and things like that, we do it on the side, do it as a hobby. And some people are okay with that, and that's great, depending on what style you're doing, and photography can give you that. It's very satisfying as a side career or as a side gig, like a lot of people call it. I I felt that there was a lot more potential, especially in the real estate photography industry, when I became really good friends with a gentleman up in Lakeland, Florida. His name is Adam Welchel, and they have a fantastic company for real estate photography. and they've been in business for many years, and they're huge in the area. And he was doing really, really, he's doing amazing. And so he said, man, you really need to start doing, getting your hands on real estate photography and doing more of that. And I'll teach you, I'll train you. And that was really what got us to the next level, because I spent quite a bit of time with him. I basically did a whole internship or an apprenticeship with him that got me to understand not only how to do the technicalities of how to shoot a real estate, but also how to run a business for real estate photography. And that really got us to the next level, to the point where, and that's the nerve-wracking part, where you really dump your full-time job and you go at it 100% of the time. We basically, that was the key pivotal moment when I stopped doing what I was doing as a full-time job. I was doing sales and stuff for a company here in Sarasota, and I was making good money. And with a family, that's the part where you're like, man, we might need to be eating some rice and beans for a little bit and some ramen noodles, but we're gonna make this happen. And that's where Erica really came in to help in, and she has so much belief in that we could do this. That was the help that I needed to get into that starting point.
Nice. So did you want to add to that a little bit, Erica?
Well, I'm not quite sure what the next questions or if we can keep going, but I really wanted to just harp on like what that transition actually felt like. We were trying to keep a roof over our head, and actually, we invested in the cameras and everything like that. And then it was like, holy cow, we were like, all right, let's bear down and commit to this. And then in December, the camera got stolen in Argentina when we went. So even more so, it was like the universe was being like, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to do this? And no, it was so scary. And there was a lot of different changes that happened. Jesus was our stable point for finances and a financial decision. Then I needed to learn how to deal with our finances, because he had to focus on growing the business and I had to be responsible for the back end. And then like trying to figure out how we were going to pay for everything, and actually divide and conquer and really have both of us moving in the same direction. Because if I was moving in one direction, he was moving in another, we wouldn't have accomplished what we were doing. Even Jesus was getting job offers of like, hey, come work for me 9 to 5. Like, let's do this. You don't have to like, suffer and whatever and, pay your bills. Like, you come work for me. And even people that were like, what are you doing, photography? Come on, like, no. And we both were like, look, we are passionate about this. We know we can accomplish it. Let's just bear down and do it. And I was refusing for Jesus to get a second job. I'm like, I don't want your attention units divided. I want you riding in one direction. So
nice.
That's how we really got to where we are now. And I'm more of a big think kind of girl, so I have.
Well, we haven't gotten to that point though.
But we got to get there one step at a time.
Exactly. And you kind of touched a little bit about some of the trials that you guys had started off with, but just to touch points a little bit more, not a lot, but what were the biggest challenges you faced when starting out? Because obviously you said that, there was a lot of upfront cost. There was like universe signs, like your camera got stolen and all this other stuff and yada, yada, yada. But just give us like little bullet points of like, what were the big things that really hit you?
Yeah.
Really it was putting finances, paying the bills, trying to keep afloat, maintaining a happy face with the children in the house, really getting on, not starving. I mean, really just like keeping our creditors happy and keeping the people that we've committed to happy, um, and really keeping the table turning with a smile on our face. I think that really keeping that commitment of with a smile on the face and doing what you're doing, facing so much uncertainty and scare, that's frightening. But we really got together and locked arms and moved forward.
Nice. Jesus, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, the what she mentioned is all very true and very real, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there face that. I sometimes think to myself, man, I wish I did this when I was, 10, 20 years ago, when I didn't have to worry so much about keeping a roof over our heads and stuff like that. So any young entrepreneurs that want to start out, I think that will be a lot easier if you start out as, not having people depending on you. But so that would be definitely the key challenge. Then there are other challenges such as, how do you market yourself? And how do you, a lot of peers of mine that are photographers, they are fantastic photographers. And this is where I think our business degrees came in handy. And a lot of people say, oh, you don't need a degree for this, you don't need a degree for that. But, college education goes a long ways, not just having a piece of paper, but having some fundamentals on, what to do to grow a business. So that would be another thing, just the regular challenges of how to start out a business. And we can talk a little bit. And I think you have some more questions for us. And
Correct.
I don't want to cover everything in one answer, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm just saying, Erica nailed it right in the head. That was exactly what we were. What I would say would be the biggest challenges.
Yeah, and just to finish that off, I totally agree with you. It's very hard if you have a family and you have those people to support you, and you just have to take that leap of faith. While it's easier for someone that doesn't have that responsibility to take the leap of faith and just go forward into that momentum. But moving on, so the main question is, do you need or are required to have a license or insurance for your line of business for taking photos?
Yeah. So especially when you start doing commercial work, like the real estate side of things, yeah, definitely. When it comes to some of the major real estate companies around town, they require that we have insurance. Okay, so if for some reason we're inside a homeowner's house and we trip over something, and a bunch of stuff breaks down, a TV falling or something, so it's also a peace of mind for me. So if we ever have any incidents like that, then we don't have to be so liable. Well, we're liable, but we have an insurance to help cover for that. So they do require that. Some companies do, some companies don't. I think the biggest regulation for what we do is the drone, the aerial photography. So to get a drone, you do need a license, and it's almost like getting a pilot's license, but it's a short version. So it's very intricate. You're almost learning you're learning a lot of stuff as if you were an actual pilot of an airplane, which to me was, a lot of people see it as a very tedious task. I enjoyed it. I'm weird like that. I just learning about piloting an airplane and stuff like that. I don't think that it's actually necessary that much, but it was definitely um, good to learn a lot of safety things and precautions when you're flying the drone. But that was a requirement for us to operate drones. And then of course the insurance comes in there too, because if your drone falls out and it hits somebody or it hits a house, that's a lawsuit. So it's very important to have a license and insurance. So that's one thing that we do require, and we've had it from the beginning. That was one of the things that we recognized that we needed to do, and so we did it right off the bat.
Okay, well, I totally agree with you on that. every business should have some kind of insurance bracket under them, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I've actually heard horror stories from another photographer somewhere else where they did drone photography, and all of a sudden they hit the, I guess, the home GPS button, and as it was coming